Hey guys, my name is X Factor. Hope you're having a great day. Welcome back to some more They Shall Not Pass DLC gameplay. Playing some Conquest on Verdun. I'm going to explain and showcase multiple spots in this map, explain why it's going to be one of my favorite maps in the DLC, of course, while using the RSC 1917 factory with the irons. It's an absolute beast on a map like this where you're doing a ton of transitioning in between flags, mixing in that long, medium, and close range gameplay. But remember, the RSC under full load, it's a 5+1. That means you only have 6 rounds. If you want all 6, if you emptied it, you have to go through a 3-second reload plus a 2.7-second reload. Almost 6 seconds of reloading. If you got one left, it's still 2.7 seconds. And you're going to want all 6 because things really pop off quickly. Or you're going to have to be really handy with your pistol, which is something to take into account due to the way Screen Shake works in Battlefield 1 with all the nades that may be popping off. And of course, suppression and aim punch. Remember, there is that flinch, the random optic sway. If you do get hit, your irons basically jump straight up along with everything else that may cause your irons to shake. You really can't afford to miss as somebody just gets turned and burned. So this round was actually for all the marbles. We'd had a long day of recording at EA Redwood Shores, and Jeff Braddock issued a challenge. Number 1, you had to win. Number 2, you had to be the highest point getter from your team. And how do you do that? You play the flippin' objective. You PTFO. I decided to mix things up and bust out the medic to give our teams the best odds to win. Then, of course, take care of some of the back caps. Because although this is a rather linear map, they can get through on that D side and get to A. And there were some pretty good players here. Pretty sneaky players here. They'd get through. They'd get to A, and somebody would stay back and stay alive. So as we thought we cleared it out, we'd run back to BC, which is kind of the middle of the map, and then all of a sudden it would start flashing again as I potato a bunch of rounds. So there's something unique about this DLC. There's 2 maps when it comes to Conquest that are vehicle-oriented. Obviously, you know about Soissons, which has up to 8 tanks, plus multiple air vehicles, plus a Char 2C, a behemoth. Then, of course, you have Rupture, which has a couple tanks, but it has 3 air vehicles per team. Then, of course, the Char 2C. Now, this one does not have any behemoths. It does not have any vehicles, just like Fort. So you have 2 vehicle-oriented Conquest maps. Then you have 2 infantry-only Conquest maps with no behemoth. So what happens when your team or the opposing team is getting smashed? Well, if the other team's getting smashed, they spawn 4 elites from the uncap. There's going to be 4 separate elites that they can grab, including the Trench Raider, which can be absolutely brutal, or the Flamethrower on the D and E flag, which is a bunker or fortress type setup. So what happens if they get killed in one of those elites? Is there a lengthy spawn timer? No, they come back almost immediately. So if you're battling it out on D and E and you kill their elite, it might be breathing down your neck yet again. And shout out to Thick44 of Battlefield Friends fame, and of course Baron, who was both in my squad and working together with me. Thick was actually a couple seats down. We were actually able to communicate a little bit, and I set objectives, and Baron and a couple of the other squad mates were able to follow, because a lot of time it was squad on squad skirmish. So there's moments where I might pause my movement as Thick dies to get information out of him. Hey, is your guy dead? No, he's in the building. No, he's coming around your right. Or I'll say, hey, come back to me where I'm on the flag burning, and I'll chuck you a heal. Because you don't want to lose that squad-on-squad skirmish where they might wipe you, they might cap the flag, and now as you're going back to A, they've got the respawn as somebody's attacking me from towards the B area. And just remember, when clearing A out, there are a lot of buildings that they can play safe at, where one person or a couple people stay alive, waiting for you to leave, get further up the battlefield, and just start capping that flag again. B actually has a decent capture size. There is no verticality you really have to worry about. There is quite a bit of topography with busted up building, then of course holes in the ground. And C is both a top and a bottom cap. So you have building remnants on top. Then, of course, you have this little bunker system down below, which is a little bit different than D, which you'll do quite a bit of fighting over on the left side of the map, where the map kind of gets a little bit linear. It forces you to play within the bunker because that is the capture zone. You can play at top. You will get caught out up top because there are some nasty spots that can peek you from the bunker on both D and E. So be very careful of that. And D bunker is actually somewhat large, and it's enjoyable to fight in there, but just be ready to eat some nades of all types, shapes, and sizes with a little bit of salt and pepper. So C actually has a decent capture radius on top and below, unlike some of the capture radiuses on Soissons. Again, multiple air vehicles, up to 8 tanks at a time, with 2 of those capture radiuses being the size of a shoebox. And here you see that leak from D to A that I talk about. Even though this map does get rather linear in the middle towards that DCB area, they can get through pretty easily. And it's something you really have to watch for, because again, if they get your back cap, they can squeeze you from both sides. And this presents a problem. They're going to get the flag. We're pushed from both B and A. So somebody stayed alive. We got to spawn off, but it's just too much chaos as I go full potato. Even if we were to clear all these guys out, they'd still be spawning back. So we've got a little bit of a problem. We get our gimme back, but we lost the middle of the field. So here you see one of the full reloads, how it takes basically north of 3 seconds, trying to play a level back and keep my players up. Evil Viking was doing a pretty darn good job of keeping the flares out, allowing us to see what is going on, which of course gives us a nice advantage when attacking a flag that we don't own. Of course, you more than likely heard me talking about the spawn system in Battlefield 1 being highly predictable and not as random as previous Battlefield titles. So if they own the flag, they're spawning on their side. And here's our side pushing to D. This is where they can make that D to A push. There is some cover in the trenches, multiple trees before you get in the town part near A, working towards that D bunker. Now, you're not going to see as much gas because the DLC patch limits you to 1 gas grenade. And of course, you've already seen the change in how long it lasts, from 22 to 15 seconds, whether it's a piece of armor or something thrown by an infantry player. This is the D bunker. You're actually not going to see it in this fight as I'm trying to figure out who I've got to beat, but you can see it on the mini-map. That is the capture radius. There's multiple little areas. There are 2 ways in, one on this side, one on the other. Stairways of death. So be extremely careful. Don't turn your back to one of those stairways. If your team is looking and covering one door, more than likely you're going to want to cover the other, because I had some absolute insane back rages on this map, primarily because people weren't paying attention to both doorways. Sometimes the best way is not attack the doorway that favors your flag side. For us, it'd be the A and B. Go around to their side where they're spawning on. If you catch the timing right, you're going to shoot a bunch of people in the ass. And boy, can it be glorious as it gets just a little bit hot on the C flag, again, which has the building remains on top, then of course downstairs. So very important to have somebody flaring and pay attention to your mini map. If it is a solid square, they're on your level. If it's not a solid square, they're above you or beneath you. They can get on top of these ruins in multiple spots, but more than likely they're going to get their teeth shot out because they can be seen from multiple angles as they're trying to make another push from E, trying to stay alive as a medic and do my job. Keep the little bag out, keep the points rolling as we're challenging this flag, and of course, get the needle in as many players as possible. Remember, there is a cooldown on the syringe now, which you can just simply wait that out, or if you grab a little bag or buy support bags, it actually negates that cooldown. So of course, there's a bunch of new weapons available for Battlefield 1 and the They Shall Not Pass DLC. What ones do I recommend unlocking first? Because there is an unlock process now. I really like the Rebay. It's pretty decent close. It shoots lasers at medium and of course can be bipoded at long range. I love the show shot. The factory version, not a fan of the optical, even though you get a bonus with the ADS. I don't like that zoom level. And I absolutely love the RSC factory. Yes, there is a bonus to ADS or aim down sight with the optical version of that. But again, it sticks you with a longer zoom level, so you're going to be using your pistol a lot more up close because you don't want that optic jumping around on you while suppressed or actually getting hit. And here's your first look at E, which is the unfinished fort. A little bit of bunker action here, but you gotta be careful. There's going to be a lot of elites here. If you are way up, this is going to be their first flag by their uncapped. Then, of course, they have a mortar that they can jump into. It is absolutely nasty. And that is the Trench Raider. I get a little bit lucky. It doesn't have the greatest range with its primary. It's not like Saber 1.0 for cavalry. It's not horrible, but they do have a number 3. They do have up to 3 nades, 3 smokes, and they have the big medic bag. So you don't want to get too close because they could really mess up a bunch of people extremely quickly and have that supportive role as a healer as we try to make one last push on B. The nice thing about the They Shall Not Pass DLC, depending on your playstyle or what you're in the mood for, there is a map and mode for you. Maps like Fort and Verdun, it doesn't matter if it's Operations, if it's Conquest, or the new game mode Frontline, they are infantry only with no behemoths. Or if it's something like Soissons or, of course, Rupture, there's going to be lots of vehicles and infantry gameplay. So depending on what you're in the mood for, you can dial something up in the in-game browser. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this Conquest gameplay on Verdun. Winner take all with the Xbox One S. And we got pretty close. We came out with the W. But Mugs TV, congrats, is the winner of the Xbox One S, inching a couple of us out as Laquan gets domed out across the map. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out, and let me know what weapons from the DLC you are going to unlock first. We'll see you guys soon.